What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Popcorn for That review. I'm Chris,
I'm Nick.
and today we're talking about Barbie. The newest Greta Gerwig movie it just came out this past weekend, starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrara, Kate McKinnon, Michael Cera. The list goes on and on. Um,
Seemingly.
yeah, what do you think about this thing?
All right, so I never really had a desire to see this movie. I knew it was getting great reviews and all that, but I just felt like I didn't really care to see a movie about Barbie. But I actually liked it. It was pretty funny. It had the message is kind of, I guess, I don't know if it was like the actual message, but like it was definitely feminist type power and stuff. But
For sure, yeah.
I thought it was funny and done really well. It was really goofy. I really like Michael Cera's character. Uh, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean it's very tongue in cheek. Like if you leave this
Hmm.
thing thinking that they seriously, I could see somebody leaving this thing thinking like they hate all men and all men are bad and have no merit at all in the world and we should just get rid of them.
Yeah, but they were just kind of
Uh,
goofing on it. I feel like.
yeah, it's all very ribbing and uh, but yeah, the comedy really worked for me. I really had a lot of fun with this thing. It's a weird. You have to kind of acclimate yourself to this world that you're in because it's kind of in a way like no other movie I've ever seen in a certain kind of way. I mean, it's not like I've never seen a bunch of a comedy before or a satire or anything, but it's very like cheeky and the world looks very almost plastic, which makes
Hmm.
sense. But like the way they light it and the way the set design is spectacular and the
Yeah.
costume design, everything about all of that is unbelievably good and it's funny to see Ryan Gosling so out of his normal element. Like if you watch a movie like Drive and then watch this afterwards,
Right.
it's just very and I'm sure Ryan Gosling was a theater kid like so many others, and he was involved in Mickey
Well,
Mouse
yeah, I
Club
was gonna say Mickey Mouse Club.
and he did La La Land and uh, but this is something different for him. I mean, just like a real deal comedy for Ryan Gosling is interesting. And I thought Margot Robbie is obviously really showing out here. I think this is probably I don't know. This is the best. This is the best I can think of her ever doing in anything. Uh,
Really?
Because she's not usually like a leading role. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think
Harley
she's great.
Quinn, Birds of
Yeah, but I
Prey. I
don't like
mean,
that quite as much as
okay.
I mean, I like that character a lot, but I don't know. This was her really showing out. I do think, yeah, you're right. I do think the Harley Quinn character is it's hard to ever imagine anybody else playing that role besides her now, and so there's a lot to be said about that too. But I think this is going to be, kind of the thing that because I was seeing articles leading up to this. I don't think I really clicked on one, but there were like these articles saying that like she's really got to make Barbie work because she's kind of got a track record of like the movies that she's in don't make a bunch of money because none of the three Suicide Squad movies made any money,
Yeah.
counting
I
Harley
mean,
Quinn and movie as a
Wolf of Wall Street made a ton of money, but that's not really. She's not a
she's not the
big
main.
lead.
Yeah, she's great
And
in that. I
there
think she's great in
was,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and there was that movie that didn't do too well, but I liked quite a bit. Which I can't think of the name of now. It came out at like the same time as Babylon. It's her, John David
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Yeah, I liked that. I know it didn't do too well, but I thought it was pretty decent.
I actually didn't finish it. I got to go back
Yeah,
and finish
yeah.
it. I wasn't like hating it or anything.
But
Uh,
I also liked Michael Cera's character a lot in this movie. He
Michael
was
Cera's character is
hilarious.
so funny. I think I got the hardest laugh from the Michael Cera scene because, especially if you know the backstory. So
Yeah.
the only non-kin. I'm sure you saw this probably leading up to this, right?
Mhm.
Like because the only non-kin male character in the actual Barbie world here in the real world ever was Allan, and so the joke is that Allan's gay
Oh, okay.
because he's Ken's buddy,
Yeah.
you know. And like on the box, he's like awkwardly kind of standing behind Ken, and then they're both wearing these like 5 inch inseam board shorts. I don't know, it just looks a little. And and on the box it says like it's Ken's buddy, and they're all their clothes, uh, all Ken's clothes fit him or something like that. And so uh, there's this scene where um, where Allan just out of nowhere has to kick some like security guards asses or something like that.
Yeah,
And he's like, hey, I'm Allan, I'm Ken's buddy. All his clothes fit me, and he just proceeds to. And that was a great line.
it
There's a
was.
lot of funny moments in this movie. It's definitely like, it kind of is a little bit of the normal like fish out of water thing, like Enchanted or something like that,
Hmm.
but enough
Yeah,
of a
and they
spin on it.
definitely. I feel like they spoofed a few things in there, like of other movies that they did on
Well,
purpose.
it opens with the 2001: A Space Odyssey
Yeah,
opening,
there's
like their
2001: A
variation.
Space Odyssey, and like to get from Barbie Land to the real world, kind of reminded me of Elf a little
Elf.
bit.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
another one that was pretty like on the nose. I can't remember what it is right now. I do
Yeah.
feel like Push by Matchbox 20s is gonna get a lot of plays here in the next couple of months, just like
The
Kate Bush happened for Stranger Things.
the music in this is so funny because in both senses, like the music that was made for the movie is pretty hilarious. Like if you listen to what they're saying, it's pretty funny.
Hmm.
Uh, because this almost is, bordering on a musical at times. Like there's a couple of in movie songs for sure and dance scenes and everything. Uh, but the song choices for, well, should we get into the plot at all? I mean, it's pretty simple to sum this
Yeah,
plot
might
up,
as well.
actually.
So we can spoilers, I guess,
Yeah,
for
I mean,
now.
yeah, spoilers ahead, but uh, yeah. So Barbie's in this perfect world and everything, and then I guess like a part of being a Barbie, I guess, is that if your human that's playing with you is experiencing some kind of turmoil in their life, it can, I guess it doesn't always, but
Hmm.
you got to forgive some of the, this is fuzzy,
Yeah.
but I guess it can translate to the Barbie and make them start to feel things, and be not just a, Barbie. And so she's like the stereotypical Barbie. And because of, so this America Ferrera's character works at Mattel, and she borrows her, I guess her Barbies from childhood, or at least her daughter's Barbies.
Hmm.
I don't know if she passed them on to her daughter for her to play with, or if they were just her daughter's Barbies, but she's borrowing them to test out some like ideas for Barbie clothes as an employee of Mattel. And she's drawing, and like her mood at the time, dealing with her angsty daughter and everything, uh, is reflected in these designs she's making. So it's like chronically obsessed with her own mortality Barbie, and cellulite patch of cellulite on their leg Barbie, and whatever. And so the first thing is it makes Barbie's feet go flat. They're usually like chronically in high heel position,
Hmm.
and so that's like the first thing she notices. And then the cellulite patch and everything. So all that to say, she's got to go. She's got to figure out how to stop this. And everybody tells her she's got to go see, what do they call her? Like crazy Barbie, or like
Weird Barbie.
weird Barbie. They call her Weird Barbie, which is Kate McKinnon, and she's also hilarious in this. But yeah, Kate McKinnon's the Barbie that got like abused and bent into perpetual splits and
Yeah.
drawn, and their faces drawn on, and my hair is all colored and cut and burned, and it's a hilarious look. And I think everybody like can relate to the image of an abused baby, abused Barbie doll. But you have to go see her, and she like offers her the choice. They gave away a little too much in the trailer if you saw like the later trailers for this movie, but because you kind of can tell what's going to happen here. But
Hmm.
she's got to go off into the real world, um
You say that, but
and
I also think they did a good job of making it, because like I thought the whole plot point was gonna be Mattel is like the big story that she's going against, and that was really a smaller part of it than I thought it was gonna be.
yeah, and actually the Mattel, so they're out in the real world. Ken tags along. I'm sure that you've probably seen that in the trailer where Ken's like kind of sneaks along and tags along with her, and she has no feelings for him, by the way.
Hmm.
But they go off into the real world, and you have to use all these different like methods, like a rocket and a car and a and it starts with rollerblades, or
And
ends with
yeah.
rollerblades, and then when you go back, you have to do it in reverse. Uh, and long story short, the big realization here for Ken is that here in Barbie Land, where they're coming from, the women are in all the major jobs, and all the CEOs and all the political roles, and everything is women, and the men just like hang out on the beach and like play flip cup or whatever. They're just hanging out. Everybody's just
Yeah.
hanging out. like Ken's job is beach,
Mhm.
not lifeguard or anything. And there's like a joke about that. This thing hits you with like satire and jokes at a mile a minute, by the way. So I mean, not every single thing lands, but it almost doesn't matter because there's so much happening, jokey.
Mhm.
But but so he realizes that now that he's in the real world, he's finding out about patriarchy. So he realizes men rule here, and the Mount Rushmore is a bunch of men's faces, and in Barbie Land it's a bunch of Barbie's faces, and all this. So he takes that realization and he goes back without Barbie, who has run into her. The mission is to find your owner. So she's met her 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 owner, I guess, who is the woman, America Ferrara, who's working for Mattel,
Yeah.
and her daughter, and so that they're part of this road trip or whatever. Ken makes it back first, and in really short time, I mean, comically short. It's a joke. Short, comically short time. He's brought the ideas of patriarchy to Barbie Land and ruined everything. I mean, the place is practically on fire.
It's like
When
everything's
they
like a
show when
frat
they
house now, and
yeah, and they've taken over all the houses, and they're called like I wish I'd written it down.
I can't remember Mojo Dojo Casa.
Mojo Dojo Casa, whatever. And it's like this is all happening in real time. So Mattel is selling all these. But what I was gonna say is like once Will Ferrell led Mattel Corporation, which obviously Will Ferrell is hilarious as usual. But once like all these board members or whatever for Mattel, led by Will Ferrell, realize what's going on and have to go back to Barbie Land, it feels like they're going to be like the villains of the story, and
Mhm.
there kind of hardly is a villain to the story besides maybe patriarchy and
Yeah.
metaphysical, sense of it. But they're not really villains. I mean, they're just kind of like. And I guess they can't make themselves too much the villain because I'm sure they had a hand in making this movie.
Yeah, true. It's just
But
more like capitalism. They're trying to make money off of all this stuff.
yeah, and so anyway, it all it doesn't take too long for this to wrap up, and it's essentially like Barbie communicating that she's never going to be in love with Ken. He's been pining for her for all these years, and she's never going to be in love with him, and she's got to be her own person, and he's got to find himself and whatever, and so everything kind of is reverting back to semi-normal, except not really. It's like normal with a kind of an extra feminist twist, I guess, because everybody's got a little more free agency, and
Yeah, well, I think
uh,
they give more Ken more freedom or something instead of just being an idiot the whole time. They let them do some extra things.
and Barbie's dressed like a normal person at the end, and she's trying to find like what her character arc is. Like she doesn't really understand what her story arc is. Everybody else kind of has a this is
Mhm.
and so she interacts for the second time with the ghost of the original creator of Barbie, um, who she's just now finding out that's who it is. But they've interacted before, and she gives her some good advice. And it's kind of like some of the only warmth she gets because a lot of their interactions on Earth are like them getting locked up in jail or her being like catcalled by men or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's all played for laugh. Like it is a little, it's like over the top, but it's played for laughs, so it's like not stupid over the top.
Yeah.
But uh, but so she has this warm interaction with this woman. Well, she meets her again, and she kind of finds out that Barbie was based on this woman's daughter in real life, and nobody's really, she's based on this ideal, and nobody's really perfect, and she was trying to do a good thing, and I don't, I don't know exactly what the moral at the end from her was supposed to be, except that it's supposed to be Barbie accepting herself for who she is and her imperfections or whatever.
Well, I think it's that and like her finding her own self and figuring it out rather than just being a stereotypical Barbie. Because they make her into a real girl at the end of the movie, basically. It's kind of like a
Yeah, it's
little
like Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, she looks more. But I thought this was hilarious. Like kind of the most emotional, and it didn't. I don't think it took away from it either. But the most emotional the movie got was at the end. For the most part, everything's very cheeky,
Mhm.
and then at the end, it does get a little emotional. And but right before that emotional part, Barbie's having this breakdown about how she's not pretty anymore. She just looks normal. And they pause for a second and break the fourth wall, and the narrator is like, note to future writers: Margot Robbie is the worst person to cast in this role if you want to make this point stick or whatever.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
this and I thought that was great.
It was pretty good. That was Helen Mirren, I think, was the narrator.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot some of the cast members. I mean, it's most people we didn't mention don't get a whole lot of screen time. Seemingly, you mentioned for a second. Issa Rae is the president. She does a
Mhm.
great job at that. Um, all the men besides Allan are Ken. So Ken and Ken and Ken and Ken and Ken. But not a whole lot of them get a whole lot of speaking roles. And there's pregnant Barbie. I guess I think her name is actually Midge
Yeah,
in the.
Matt Midge or something. Because there were a few like discontinued Barbies. That was the whole joke. Like Will Ferrell sees her and is like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "I thought we discontinued her."
There's a couple weird discontinued Kens that are with the group of Barbies that kind of go off
Mhm.
and try to fix this whole patriarchy situation that they've found themselves in. Um, I don't remember a lot about those two Kens. They don't
It
really. I don't know.
was
They don't really speak much or anything. One of
Yeah,
them's
it
got
was
like
just
a
kind of
magic
put him in
earring or
there.
something.
Yeah, I don't remember that. There's that one, and I
I
barely
don't remember
remember
the
what he
other
was
guy.
about. The other one was Sugar Daddy Ken, and they're like, "Oh no, not Sugar Daddy." He's like, "Yes, my dog is Sugar, and I'm her daddy."
They put so much emphasis on that being real that I bet it is. I
Yeah,
haven't looked it up yet,
I
but
haven't.
I bet it actually is a real thing.
'Cause there
But
were like a few discontinued Barbies. One where like her move her arm and her breasts get bigger, and like one had a TV in her back, and I
yeah,
don't
she's
know.
like nobody wanted that.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what my special power is? I have a TV in my back. No one wanted that. Um, so I have, I mean, mostly positive things to say. Do you have some negatives about this movie at
I
all? That
yeah, I will say that like they kind of touched on like what is this Barbie world and why is it different from the real world, and then like never went back to it. Like, is this a magical land that was created because Barbie was created, or was Barbie? I guess they come say that like they base it off of her daughter, so this world just like appeared all of a sudden, but they never really clarify anything with that, and
well, and
that was kind of a negative for me.
to further that point too, like they do mention the thing about like the reason that Barbie can just float down from the top of her penthouse to the pool, which I love that the pool is just like a flat thing that she
Yeah.
can like walk on. It's like a picture of water. But but the fact that she can just float down to it is because like when you're playing with Barbies, that you're just moving them from place to place, so they don't
Mhm.
have to use the stairs or the slide or whatever. They can just you can put them. So it's like I don't know. It seems like that means that the human world is interacting with this world, and just I guess the hands are like invisible. This movie
I
doesn't
guess
lend
so.
itself
Yeah.
well to like analyzing the mechanics of things very well. Like
Not
if you're
really.
somebody that's gonna have a hard time with that, this movie is there's tons of holes in it. I guess and but the real people that are not gonna like this movie are people that are gonna immediately be offended and think that all this is saying that all men are stupid and all men are part of the problem and all men are part of this patriarchy. Um, if you take this movie way too seriously, you're gonna end up not liking it. I guess if you're on that side
Yeah.
of the argument or whatever. But it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know.
I thought it was a fun movie. It was funny. I definitely like from not even caring about seeing it. It was a good comedy movie.
So how would you rate this?
Uh, I'd probably give it like a 7. Just a 7. It was pretty good. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would,
Mm-hmm.
and it's better than some of the other comedies that have come out recently and didn't take itself super seriously or anything.
I'm trying to think. I'd probably give it an 8.
Yeah.
Probably give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah, I like this quite a bit.
I mean, I like the
And I
musical
mean,
numbers and like just how she goes from like this big musical number they're all dancing is like, does anybody ever think about dying? And like nobody really
yeah,
reacts.
and like the music just completely stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a very different movie. I mean, you have to kind of get used to the type of humor here.
Mhm.
And it's very, I mean, it's actually very different for Greta Gerwig, who hasn't done a whole lot of movies, but everything she's done has been so critically acclaimed. Like Lady Bird,
Yeah. And I
a lot of
wasn't
people's.
sure if this was going to be like a straight kids movie or not, but it definitely had some jokes that would go over kids' heads for sure.
Yeah, the uh, beat you
Yeah,
off,
yeah, I wasn't sure what he said at
beat
first.
you off.
He's like, "I'm going to beat you off." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
I beat myself. You can't even figure out how to beat yourself off.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the like the old I don't know who it was, like Target or Kmart or something commercials that are like, I just shipped my pants.
Oh, yeah.
I just shipped the bed. Yeah, it's a good one.
It's fun.
Um, So let's see what we the next movie we got coming out is gonna be so these are gonna be our two movies for this week. So no movie on Thursday this week, but as soon as possible we're gonna see Talk to Me. So really stoked about that little
Yeah,
independent Australian horror movie, and it's I don't know if you know, but it's like two guys who have a Australian dudes that have a YouTube channel,
I did not.
and this is their first. I don't know if it's like crowdfunded or what, but somebody threw money at them to make a full length
Well, I
movie,
mean,
and it's
A24 is producing it, so potentially them.
yeah, I don't know what like who initially picked it up to decide to,
Okay, yeah.
but A24 picked it up after all that, but yeah, so really stoked about that. So that's the next thing coming. Uh, if you've seen Barbie or Oppenheimer, you got to comment down below about them. Let us know how you felt about these. You could rank this one in Greta Gerwig's very tiny filmography, not too difficult. I think what is it, Little Women, Lady Bird, and this, as far as I can tell. Maybe
Mhm.
one other movie that I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, comment down below, like this video, share it with your friends if you feel so inclined, and hit the subscribe button. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, as always.
We'll see ya.